everybody, welcome to another edition of Anarchast, your home for anarchy on the internet. I have coming in from the USSA, although he does live in Panama now, Erik Voorhees, one of the co-founders of two people who co-founded Coinapult. He actually has stepped away from day-to-day operations on Coinapult now, but he's still involved as an owner, and he's working on some new Bitcoin operations. He's based out of Panama now, which is interesting. We're going to talk all about that. But the first thing we have to ask, though, Erik, is how did you become an anarcho-capitalist?
So I grew up, I think, in a family that was fairly libertarian, but I got into college, and I called myself a Republican back then, and generally found myself agreeing with the Republicans on half of what they were saying and disagreeing on the other half. And then in school, I suppose that I learned there was this other word called libertarian, which was a philosophy of simply being opposed to government in all ways, just when it comes to social programs, but also warfare programs and all the various things. So then, after I understood what a libertarian was, it was just a slow and steady progression into being comfortable with the concept of ANCAP, and so that's what I call myself, an anarcho-capitalist now. And it's just been a good process of learning. I was in the Free State Project for a while, and everyone up there is a rabid anarchist, so that certainly helped further my progression.
Yeah, it's also interesting that you started up a Bitcoin company, I think a few years ago at least, right? When did you start Coinapult?
Coinapult has its roots all the way back in 2011, actually.
All the way back, we're talking the old days.
It is the old days, yeah. That in coin terms, that's forever ago. Right. And I met at the first Bitcoin conference in New York City, where there were like 50 people in August of 2011. So we hit it off, and he had been building some Bitcoin software, and after his partner screwed him over and ran away with it, covered it all himself, and him and I teamed up and continued building it. And so that software became Coinapult. And for a while, it was just where that was used by BitInstant, which is where I used to work also in New York. Ira and myself both worked at BitInstant. And then we split off from BitInstant, moved to Panama, and formed Coinapult as a proper independent business.
So, the last question I asked before you broke up from the third world internet in the USSA was how you went to Panama. Why did you decide to go to Panama?
We decided to go down to Panama because we realized that building a Bitcoin business in the US was probably not a great idea. So, we wanted to go somewhere where there was no taxation, the regulatory environment was reasonable, and Panama also has, still a short distance to the U.S., so still be. We really wanted to get out of the country, and Panama made sense, so we moved down there and started the business.
That's great. And how did you like Panama so far?
It's good. Like from a business perspective, it's amazing. Basically, if you don't serve Panamanian customers, you don't have to comply with various financial institution regulations. So they'll pretty much leave you alone as long as you're not serving. So Coinapult doesn't serve Panamanian customers, and it doesn't serve American customers. And by so doing, hopefully it can serve the rest of the world much better.
Yeah, it's funny. Like, you have to do that in today's world. Wherever you are, you pretty much can't actually provide services to the people in that country, or else you have problems.
Yeah.
It's so hilarious.
Yeah. So I want to protect their consumers by not letting them use, some of the most innovative tools that we built. That's their idea of serving them.
Yeah, it's the same with Peter Schiff. He's got a bank based out of St. Vincent.
Mm-hmm.
And the only two clients he can't really accept are people from St. Vincent and, of course, Americans. No one can accept Americans. They're the persona non grata of the entire planet right now.
Yeah.
The biggest slaves in the planet. Like, you can take North Korean clients, no problem. If you accept Americans, you're going to have some problems. All right, so we'll start again with the questions. So you moved to Panama a year or two ago. Tell people a little bit about just like in general how life is a little bit different in Panama than the U.S.
Well, it's less frightening from a regulatory perspective.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Being in the U.S., when we were with BitInstant and Coinapult, there's just this feeling like at any moment, the feds will break down the door and just throw you in a cage for a bunch of trumped up charges that don't mean anything. And that's not only stressful and very uncomfortable, but it gets in the way of business. Every business meeting where you're trying to decide, okay, how can I build an interesting service for people to use that will be valuable? It inevitably turns into a conversation of, well, is this going to go against one regulation or another? And many times you just don't know, and so you have to get lawyers on the phone, and you're paying them $500 an hour, and they don't know, so they get another lawyer, and now you're paying, $1,200 an hour for your phone call that lasts 2 hours, and at the end of it, you still don't know anything, and it's just a terrible environment for trying to build an innovative financial business. So Panama, that feeling is gone, and it's really nice.
Yeah. And how about the lifestyle? Because a lot of people are curious about living in different countries. How's your lifestyle been in Panama? Do you enjoy the lifestyle in general?
Yeah. I had lived abroad before. I was in Dubai for a couple of years, and so I was comfortable with kind of that living in other countries feeling. Interestingly, Panama actually feels a little more exotic and remote than Dubai, because Dubai, everyone speaks English, but in Panama, very few people speak English. So, and I don't speak Spanish at all. So that was hard to integrate with people. But in general, it's good. I mean, prices are, if you're coming from a normal U.S. city, prices in Panama are significantly lower.
Right.
And if you like reasonable sunshine most of the year and warm weather, then it's pretty good. We have our group of Coinapulters, which is now up to like 14 people. So we have kind of a good group of mostly American friends, which makes the transition a little easier.
Yeah, it's always nice to know some people that you can relate to a little bit in a different area. And that's a lot of the things we do here in Acapulco as well. We have a lot of expats come down here and try to make them feel at home and that sort of a thing. So go ahead.
What? Tell me a little bit about Acapulco. Why are you there?
Well, I'm supposed to be interviewing you, but the reason I'm here is I just love it. This is one of the best places, and I hope you come to Anarchapulco. We're going to have most of the major Bitcoin community here. I can't announce it yet, but some of the top Bitcoin people are coming. They're just trying to figure out passports and visas. A lot of them are felons now because of victimless crimes. So they have to get like a judge's permission, or they have to get a transit visa and all kinds of stuff. But no, I hope you come down here so you can, or up here. Actually, you're in the U.S., so down here right now because it's amazing. It's awesome.
Cool.
Yeah, it's really good. And you just recently got married. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So is your wife from the U.S.?
She is, yeah.
And how does she like Panama?
She doesn't like it as much. I mean, a lot of it is because she doesn't really have girlfriends down there.
Yeah.
So that was hard, but I think she understands a lot of the reasons for being out of the U.S.
Yeah, women in general, not all. Angel Clark sitting to my left right now. She's pretty open-minded, but a lot of women, they like their little, not to say little, but they like this sort of structure around them with their friends and their family, and when they don't have that, they kind of stress out a little bit, so that's understandable. Let's talk about Bitcoin. So Bitcoin's around, I think, 350 right now. What's your thoughts on Bitcoin the last year? What's been going on? Just your general thoughts in general?
Well, this has been kind of a year of hangover from the bubble of last year in November and December, where the price went up to 1,200, and so it's just been kind of slowly declining all year, and it sucks if you're holding Bitcoins for that to happen, but anyone who's been in Bitcoin for a while knows that this is how these bubbles play out. So it's fine. I mean, I lived through the first bubble that went up to $31 and then slid over 8 months down to $2. So that, that's like a 90% decline, and that was pretty brutal. So compared to that, this doesn't feel so bad. We're still twice as high as we were a year ago. But the industry itself, which is always more interesting than the price, is really just going crazy right now. This year has been the year of intense venture capital investment. I think something like $300 or $400 million now has been put into Bitcoin companies, and that statistic is roughly what the internet industry was like in, I think, 93 or 94.
Maybe
So
95. I was around in
95.
the early days. Yeah, I think it's comparable to about 1995 with the internet. So yeah, this is still the early days in Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So it's going to be very interesting. And I know you're working on some new projects. So you're definitely excited about the future of Bitcoin.
Yeah, I mean, when I fell down the rabbit hole, I haven't emerged yet. So it's just a constant struggle to build businesses and to try to help frame the philosophical narrative around Bitcoin. Because there are people who are interested in it because it's a cheap way to send money around, which is fine. Right. But the real interesting aspects of Bitcoin are much different. It comes from the fact that there's now a way to store and transfer wealth without any party being involved, whether it's a bank or a government. And this has very profound implications for society. So I try to help people that are getting interested in this understand that it's really more than just a technology that makes money more efficient. It's something that will actually change all sorts of dynamics of our society.
Yeah, I agree. And there seems to be a real divide going on right now. There's sort of like the status Bitcoiners who really want to, they like the regulations, they want the licenses, all that kind of stuff. And then there's more of the people who understand why Bitcoin's so important. People like Cody Wilson and Suzanne Terkasi-Tempelhoff, who started BitNation. They're more, and Raphael, which I had on Anarchast. Actually, all of them have been on Anarchast before. And I think we're going to have in Anarchapulco a little bit of a summit to talk about the future of Bitcoin and how we don't want, although you understand this because that's why you moved to Panama for a large part of the reason is to get away from the regulations. So there's a real thing going on right now with a lot of people trying to co-opt Bitcoin, but I don't think they can. Let them regulate it. Let them, people who want licenses and all that, go ahead. But that's not what Bitcoin's all about. Bitcoin is about freeing us from the central bank cartel.
Yeah, it's for many things. That certainly is one of the core points. But I don't think it's quite as simple as having half the people be statists who are welcoming regulation. I think there's actually a lot of people who have a similar mindset as us and got interested in Bitcoin for what I would call the right reasons. But they play by different tactics. So you can't build a large Bitcoin business and also not comply with regulations. You can have small Bitcoin businesses that don't, but as soon as you get big, you're going to get destroyed. And so when we're talking about building a new financial system that replaces the old, that's going to require billion-dollar companies getting built, and you can't build those by skirting the law, unfortunately. So I think there's a lot of people who are building these businesses. They have a similar mindset as us. They realize that at the end of the day, Bitcoin can't really be regulated. But during the interim transition, some of the Bitcoin businesses are going to have to not only comply with regulations, but feign interest in them and feign support of these regulations so that they don't get taken down before the whole industry has a chance to actually take over.
Yeah, no, it's a very interesting time. And I think Peter Thiel said this month that Bitcoin has actually been far more successful than PayPal because it actually became a currency. So that was really interesting. Did you hear that one?
Yeah, I did hear that one. I mean, PayPal, but he should know that PayPal was never a currency.
Right.
It was always dollars.
Right.
So I don't know if he's just misusing his words or what, but
no, I think that was a truthful, honest statement on his part because I think PayPal did want to become a currency and they still might, but they haven't yet. So Bitcoin has far surpassed PayPal in those terms.
Yeah. Definitely. I mean, PayPal is a bank. It's an internet bank, essentially, a bank that is on the internet. It uses all the normal banking systems and the banking rules and the bank's preferred currency of the dollar, and it's just a slightly newer bank. So while it was revolutionary in that it made internet commerce a little faster, it didn't change the game in terms of how money is controlled.
Right.
That's why Bitcoin's actually more successful.
Yeah, definitely. What do you think about Apple Pay?
So Apple Pay is just another. It's just another payment system. I mean, it's just like
Right.
PayPal.
It's just like PayPal, yeah.
It's
But do you
less.
think it's going to catch on?
Yeah. Well, I mean, there are how many millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions of Apple iPhone users
Right.
that will probably use it. It's probably a really cool, fast way to pay for stuff at retail stores and maybe online. But that's all it is. It's a payment network that uses the banks and the dollars. So as a payment network, it looks cool. But again, like PayPal, it doesn't really change the fundamental nature of money in any way. And it is less innovative today than PayPal was when PayPal came out. And PayPal was less innovative than Bitcoin is now. So, some people are wondering whether Apple Pay is kind of a challenge to Bitcoin. And it's really apples and oranges, to forgive the pun. But Bitcoin is just doing so much more than only making payments faster.
Yeah. What do you think about? Do you think Bitcoin needs to become a thing that everyone uses in like transactions to buy coffee at Starbucks every day? I personally don't think that's really a major issue.
Well, when you say
think
needs, what do you mean? Like,
well, when I say when I look at Bitcoin, I'm an anarchist, total anarchist. So I hate. I don't want to use that word. I so dislike the governments and the central banks that I look at Bitcoin as being like so disruptive that it can actually take down these evil people who've killed hundreds of millions of people. Let's be honest, right? Central banking and governments, hundreds of millions of people. So when I say, I'm talking from my own perspective. So I'm saying, what does Bitcoin need to do? And that's a funny question. You're right. Bitcoin doesn't need to do anything. It's just math. But how can Bitcoin get to a level where it actually starts to take down or start to surpass the fiat currency system?
you should probably look at it not as one fiat currency system. So there are lots of central banks and lots of national currencies. Some are very strong and some are weaker. I think as Bitcoin grows, it becomes a more viable alternative. To a normal person, Bitcoin is not yet a viable alternative to the dollar or the euro.
Right.
But it is starting to be a viable alternative to some of these smaller, more problematic currencies like the Argentinian peso or the bolivar in Venezuela.
Yep.
So, as Bitcoin grows, those people in those countries will start to adopt Bitcoin as a refuge. And Bitcoin very well could replace the national currencies in those countries over the next 2 to 5 years. And when that happens, then it's already started to fulfill this kind of destiny that I think you and I probably see it doing. But it's not like there's just going to be a day where all fiat collapses. It's going to be a process, and the smaller ones will fall apart, and that will give more credibility to Bitcoin. And I think the dollar is going to collapse, and I don't know if it'll be a year or 30 years or 100 years from now. But now that there's an alternative, which there never has been before, people can actually make the switch to a non-fiat.
Yeah. Well, I'm the dollar vigilante, so you're preaching to the choir there. I think the dollar will collapse in the next 5 years. I think it'll be the yen first, Japanese yen. But I think you're right. They're all different. So there's going to be different. You're seeing a huge take up in Argentina, as you pointed out, Venezuela now, Iran, because of the capital controls enforced by the U.S. government terrorist organization. So yeah, you're right. There's not going to be like a certain point where that's the date, and now Bitcoin's the currency. No, it's going to happen organically. It's going to happen bigger in some places, smaller in other places, but it's definitely going to happen.
Yeah, and I think there will be a long period where Bitcoin and fiats are used in parallel. So I think there will be a number of years where Americans are comfortable using both, and they have some Bitcoin and they have some dollars, and they've used both. And once they're comfortable with both, then when the worst currency starts falling apart, they already have a natural alternative to switch to. But people will not switch to Bitcoin before they're comfortable with it. So it's just a slow process of these people starting to learn about the alternative.
Yeah, no, it's very interesting. We should keep this short because people have ADD. Do you have anything else you want to talk about or anything you want to promote while we're here?
Nothing I want to promote other than anyone who's not in the US and wants to try out Coinapult's lock system, I think should do that. It's basically a way to remove volatility from Bitcoin. It's not available in the US, but anywhere else it works great. So, if you're a restaurant and you get paid in Bitcoin and you have bills at the end of the month, but you don't want to hold it in Bitcoin, and you don't want to cash it out into a bank, you can keep it at Coinapult and lock it, and it'll be worth $1,000 today and tomorrow and next month. So it removes a big problem for a lot of Bitcoin actual usage.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, so that's the one thing I would want to promote. And other than that, I think people should just keep watching how this stuff evolves, and get involved and build projects. And this is going to be something that in 20 years people look back on and say, wow, this really changed the world. How could I not have seen this? It's really obvious that this is going to change the world. It's already starting to. So anyone interested in this stuff should really be getting involved immediately.
I agree. I was around for the start of the internet, so I've kind of went through the whole. And it's about 20 years since the internet started, right? Like 1994.
Did you know when it was getting started that it would take over, that it would be as big as it was?
I knew it was going to change the world, but you can never predict, how it's going to play out because there's a million or a billion different players. Mm-hmm. I knew it was going to change the world, so I quit my job pretty much. I was working in a bank. The day I heard about the internet, I pretty much quit my job. I just said, I'm going to get on this thing. So I'm that kind of person. I take risks, or I used to. I have a family now, so I take less risks. Mm-hmm. So it's sort of fun for me to see this new industry, which is very similar to the internet in the scope and the potential, starting up, and seeing how still today, if you watch TV or CNBC, they're still kind of like, it's sort of like seeing the internet in 1994 on the Today Show. Bryant Gumbel was like, what's email? How does it work? That's where Bitcoin is right now.
Yeah, you can get those same clips now with Bitcoin.
Yeah, exactly.
Bitcoin can really be seen as just a branch of the internet's disruption. The internet has disrupted so many things, from publishing and information to media and all these things. And now with the advent of Bitcoin, the internet is disrupting money. And so Bitcoin is really more like a branch of the real disruption that happened with the internet in the mid-90s.
Yeah,
just continuing to unfold.
Yeah, and we're going to decentralize everything.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
Well, not everything can or should be decentralized, but I think people should have the option usually to not have to be stuck under one monolithic controller of truth or information.
Absolutely. So we'll be talking a lot about that at Anarchapulco, right behind me right now on the beach in February 24th to March 1st. I hope you can make it down or up, wherever you are at that time, Eric, and your wife. And we're going to talk about all these sort of issues. It's going to be, it's sort of like going to an internet conference in 1995. It's going to be a lot of really interesting people. And we're going to be talking about world-changing ideas. And it's going to be interesting. So I'd like to thank Erik Voorhees, co-founder of Coinapult. He's now working on some new things. We're going to hear about that, I'm sure, in the future. And that's it for Anarchast, your home for anarchy on the internet. Peace, love, and anarchy.
This is Anarchast.